3.
Well, now we've updated our video. Hope you're still with me, or you've come back. And now we're actually entering the exhibit at Visual Arts in Summit, New Jersey. The show is called Corona Dreams. And I call it Corona Dreams because I did a lot of this work at home in my makeshift studio, otherwise known as the Lego basement. Matt Langley was one of my teachers here. I expanded into using acrylics and canvas. I got a little tired of just the watercolor pouring. But what I learned from painting in acrylics was you can layer the color on the canvas, but pouring through toilet paper and pouring through Kleenex just did not work. So I worked with brushes for a while, but then became a little dissatisfied with that technique, and I began to pour again. So come with me into the exhibit, and I'll show you first one of my first experiments in using the most valuable of all medium during the pandemic. And I actually used paper towels that worked very well. I call this exhibit, obviously, Corona Dreams, but I started doing this in class and experimenting with the abundant supply of paper towels because I'm a very messy painter, needlessly, you can tell that. And I created these in the class here by pouring different colors. I tried it on a white background, I painted over, tried it again, and created a series of trees in the Four Seasons. And I loved how the texture came out with the paper towels. Obviously we have fall, then I had to go on to winter. The cherry trees had many different pours done over them. Each painting usually has about 16 layers of failed paintings beneath them. And finally, we got to spring. I continued doing this technique. And my next set that I experimented with were in a different palette. And this was when Australia was burning and California was burning. And you couldn't stop seeing the flames everywhere. So I call this firewall. And I feel that it reminded me exactly of what happened in Australia and happened in California. And then the art center shut down, and I had to do more work, and I moved into the basement of my home, and I had all these failed other paintings, so I just painted them over. I never liked to lose a wonderful canvas from Michaels, but I wasn't adverse to wasting paint, so I painted over earlier paintings that I had done that I called unsuccessful, and started using different types of material. I call this one the deep. And if you notice, the paper towels don't crinkle as well because when you had to buy them online, I couldn't get the same quality, or perhaps lack of quality, of paper towels. And of course, I didn't want Bounty written all over them, or all those other things that come on paper towels. So the textural effect is somewhat different. Sometimes as I was working, I'd become very disgusted with what I had done, and after painting, I just ripped off all my paper towels and discovered underneath that it looked even better without my paper towels on top. So I call this one Ghost Shadows. I have many of these, and I'm trying to decide that I like it better with my creation or without my creation on top. Come to some of the others with me now. I always love doing landscapes, and you may not see this as a landscape. I call it Red Sky at Night. I happen to have had 3 similar. I like to work in triptychs, diptychs, because then you can always throw one out. But here, these were failed paintings. I painted over them and started over and poured on these. And I think they were much better than the dead painting that was underneath all of these. I came back to the art center occasionally to pay my dues and just went into the bathroom to get some more of their wonderful paper towels that crinkle better than mine. But I couldn't keep up with the supply. I did these the same way. You can even see remnants of the older painting that was underneath. And I would just continue to pour paint all over. Even though you may think this is wasteful, it is extremely therapeutic when you are released and can live freedom-free from brushes. Because then whatever your feelings are, they can just pour out. And I call this the deep. The whole essence of this show are places where we can go and where we cannot go. And during the pandemic, basically, the dream is all the places I wished I could be or to see. And mostly they're outside. If you come over here, I'll show you some more. I was always a big traveler, for those of you that know. And here's one series that I made of Arctic ice. Now, Arctic ice, obviously, is blue. It doesn't really look like this, but in Greenland, but is the memory of the icebergs that I have seen, the glaciers that I have seen. And they didn't look exactly like this, but when you remember things, they always come out much more vivid in memory than they do in person. And now you can notice I have found a little different kind of paper toweling. It has little dots on it. And I have even discovered some tissue paper actually will adhere at this time. So I'm still in the moment and still experimenting with my wide variety of paper products. I also am fascinated by water, and that has been between water and sky. I love to think of different images. I used to swim when we could go into indoor swimming pools, do exercise that way. So I call this one a swimming reflection of swimming in the deep. This one I call under the sea. And if anybody who's been scuba diving or snorkeling will recognize that one. I call this one lily pads. This one barely made it into the show, but it seemed to go with the color palette of the others, and also thematically. And here's another one I call kelp forest. I seem to like blues. I have a lot of trouble with other colors, but blues seem to be the color I have loved the most. So, in conclusion, I would say at 74, I am in the early stages of my new career, and I would say it's all about the process of becoming. And who knows where I can go from this once my paper towel paper is exhausted. I do not know what I'll do, but I have a lot of canvases waiting in my basement. Where I'm working now is my studio, replacing the Lego sculptures of my grandchildren. And who knows what the future will bring. Thank you very much for coming. I miss you. Hope we'll get together soon.